Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is befit. And this verb was suggested by the viewer Luis. Luis, thank you so much for the suggestion. Now, let's spend a moment and look at the definition of this verb. The verb befit really means just to suit someone or to be appropriate for someone or something. We'll be looking at examples of this later, but again, it could mean to be sort of right for the circumstances or right for the situation. For now, you should know that befit is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, we need to double the T. Now, we do have a two-syllable verb. It does end in the pattern of consonant, vowel, consonant. And the reason we're doubling the T here is because the stress is on the second syllable. So we need to add a second T, then we can add ing, and that forms befitting. The past tense and the participle form of this verb are going to require that same spelling change. So we're going to double the T and then add ed. Our base verb, befit, ends in a T sound. This means when we add the ed ending, we're going to make an id sound. And we're also going to add an extra syllable to the verb when we say it. The past tense and the participle form of the verb should sound like this. Befitted. Befitted. Okay. Now, I don't have any additional phrasal verbs that we need to study, so we'll move on to making some example or sample sentences with befit. Today, we're going to review the past progressive and the simple past tense. Let's start with the past progressive. Many teachers and textbooks will call this the past continuous, and that's just fine if you recognize that term. In this verb tense, and again, past progressive or past continuous, they mean exactly the same thing. We're describing an action that was ongoing during some point in the past. The reason I use past progressive with my students is that I want them to pay attention or notice the two P's so that they can remember that they'll need two parts to make their verb. We're going to be using the past form of be, and then we'll be using that ing form the verb. Now, be has two forms in the past tense. This means we need to pay attention to our subject. If our subject is I, he, she, or it, then we want to use was, W-A-S, and then that ing form of the verb. But if the subject is you, we, or they, then we'll use were, W-E-R-E, and then that ing form of the verb. Here's my first example. This celebration of the museum was befitting of all the hard work it took to update and reopen it after the flood. This sentence was very similar to a number that I saw with befit. Really meaning it, I think they were trying to describe a very proper and dignified kind of experience, right? It wasn't something just kind of thrown together, something that was disorganized. So they wanted something that seemed appropriate for this type of moment that they wanted to celebrate. Okay. Now, if you want to make a negative past progressive sentence, again, pay attention to that subject, then use the past tense form of be that matches, followed by not, and then the ing form the verb. Here's another example. Those comments weren't befitting a former captain and team leader. Okay. Finally, if we want to make a yes or no question here in the past progressive, start with your form of be, whatever form matches the subject, that comes next. Then you'll see the ing form of the verb next. So, was the theme befitting of the park? And before we move on to our next verb tense, I want to quickly note that as I looked for sort of real examples of this being used, a couple patterns emerged to me, particularly as it was related to this verb in news articles. So that could be online websites, newspapers, blogs, magazines, etc. The first thing I noticed was it was far more common in British English, or countries that tend to use British English. So think India, Pakistan. I saw lots of examples with it. Saw a few examples with Australian English. Not quite as common with American English, and you might be able to tell from my accent, that's what I am more accustomed to. But the second pattern I saw was, again, sort of describing various events, parties, celebrations, clothes, all being used to describe with this verb, in that either they are appropriate for this kind of environment, or in the case of the negative, then they weren't. The second way I encountered this, again, might be connected to people's words or actions. So those might be some patterns where you encounter this verb as well. Now let's move on and make some sentences in the simple past tense. In this verb tense, we are describing actions that have been completed at a known point in the past. And the nice thing about making sentences in the simple past tense is that our structure stays the same no matter what our subject is. So we're going to start with a subject, and then we're going to use that ed form of the verb in the affirmative or in positive sentences. So the first example that I have here says, their dress befitted a film heralded as a cultural movement. This sentence was describing how many fans were dressing up to see a particular movie. And here, again, they're saying this is sort of appropriate because this particular movie is so important or significant. Now let's look at making a sentence in the negative in the simple past tense. Again, doesn't matter what our subject is. We'll start with the subject. We'll use did not and then the base verb. Notice I'm not using the ed form of the verb here. The vibe didn't befit your typical sleepy day on the coast. So, said, kind of suggesting it didn't fit, it didn't feel right. Finally, if you want to make a yes or no question in the simple past tense, start with did, then you'll have your subject, and then the base verb. Again, no ed form of the verb here in our yes or no question. Here's my last example. Did the title befit her active role better than the previous one? This is really asking, is this new title more suitable for this individual? Now, let's spend a moment looking at some words that are related to our verb befit. And the first word we'll discuss today is the adjective form. And you're going to notice the adjective here looks exactly like our progressive form of the verb. So we have the two T's, the ing ending. So the spelling is the same. The pronunciation is also going to be the same. When this word gets used as an adjective, it's describing something that is appropriate to the occasion, or maybe appropriate for some sort of purpose, or a related adjective or synonym you might encounter is suitable. An example of this might be, this befitting tribute concert moved everyone in attendance. Maybe we're describing a particular artist who moved many people, right? So it's only appropriate that the tribute show would also move people. One more word for us today. It's the adverb befittingly. And this is a pattern I always like to point out, that ly ending in English most commonly is going to signal an adverb. You can kind of look at that root word to help you understand its meaning. So adverbs can either describe verbs or other adjectives, and we're describing something here done in a manner that is appropriate or suitable for some particular situation, or maybe an occasion, or for an individual. An example of this might be, her outfit was befittingly subdued. So here, we're describing something not sort of flashy, not attention seeking, right? So it's kind of muted. That might be another word you would encounter. And whatever the situation might be, this is the sort of the right look for that occasion. I want to say another special thank you to Louise for suggesting today's verb, and I thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day.